Now, the best part of traveling abroad with a Canadian passport is if you're traveling with a bunch of Americans and British and your bus or your aircraft gets hijacked, Canadians always get shot last. So hello tubers, thank you for joining me. Today I was actually inspired to do a video that's kind of a slightly political, slightly sociological, inspired by a conversation I had at a car wash a couple days ago by an American who was amazed at that I wasn't scared living at home without a handgun ready at my disposal, because apparently people live in fear in their homes that somebody's going to break in and kill them. And I told them, well, if you don't want to get killed in Canada, the most important thing is to not have friends or family, because most people get killed by people they know, overwhelmingly so, and even that is a very, very small number compared to the United States. So, on that note, let's play a little game here. So, for example, who do you think ranks higher, the United States or Canada, on total beer consumption? I want you to guess. USA versus Canada. Who drinks more? I always thought it was us Canadians. Well, in fact, we don't. Total beer consumption for the US is around 77.1 pints, and in Canada it's 66.9. Now that leaves the US number 14 of all nations, with the Czech Republic being number 1. Thank you, Czech, for doing your part. And Canada, of course, being number 25. So a myth dispelled that I even had, or a sociological bias that I used to proudly exclaim how we drank so much more, but apparently we don't, and that's based on Gallup. Let's keep it a little sexy here, because we don't want just all the boring life expectancy data, do we? Because that's a bit boring. You know, we'll talk about it at the end of the video. Now, when it comes to total sexual partners reported, now this is from a Durex study. Now, Durex, of course, is the condom people, so they know something about sex, let's say. So what do you think is higher? The average Canadian man or the average American man in terms of total lifetime sexual partners? Who scores higher? Canada! Yay! Canada scoring 23 versus 13 for reported men. Now, of course, America's got a lot of Christian fundamentalists that might want to, lie about that number and bring it right down to 1, meaning their wife. So I don't, there's always problematic issues with data. Now, the women in America claim around 10. An interesting matter too that on the Durex study, that time in bed. Who spends more time in the sack, foreplay, intimacy, the whole 9 yards, without being graphic? Because we got to keep this, clean. Canada or America? More time in the sack per rendezvous. Once again, Canada, 37 minutes versus America, 35. Do they actually have somebody with a stopwatch standing next to the beds of America and Canada timing that? So I'm a bit skeptical on that statistic, but it's still fun. Yay! The most recent Economist Intelligence Unit's ranking of livability studies of cities around the world lists the top 20 cities. How many of those cities do you think are in America? And how many of those cities do you think are in Canada? Who wins that total battle in terms of livability studies? Now, to be fair, it doesn't account for cost of living. So just general livability, just pick a city. Think of how many that you'd want to live in the United States versus Canada, all around the world. So we're competing on a global level here. Well, in Canada, out of the top livability cities in the world, Canada scores 4, and I will list the cities. Coming in at number 3, Vancouver, my hometown and place of birth. Number 4, Toronto. Number 5, Calgary. And coming in at the bottom, number 4, Montreal, or as my French friends say en français, Montréal. So that's a total of 4. Now, looking through the list, and this is compiled in August 2014, so fairly recent. Number 1 on the list was not American, it was Melbourne, Australia. So let's go through the list and see how many American cities came on that list. None. Sorry, folks. Yeah, hard to believe Compton didn't even make it in like at the bottom or something. You know, it's warm in Compton. You know. Okay, this is going to be an easy one. This is a giveaway, but there's a twist to it. Now, who's got the higher murder rate per 100,000 people? Canada or the United States? Pretty easy. United States. 4.8 per 100,000 citizens. In Canada, 1.73. That's 2011 stats. Now, where it gets interesting, though, is up in the far, far north, Nunavut, Northwest Territories, Yukon, murder rate much higher than many areas in the U.S. because gun ownership in terms of hunting, very high. It's unfortunate, but violent crime in Canada's Arctic is very high. But just don't go there. Now, of course, the last number we're going to look at, of course, life expectancy, because isn't that what it's all about? How long are we going to live here, folks, on this third rock from the sun? Well, who lives longer, Canadians or Americans? And this is gender blended, okay? So factoring in how men die younger, women live longer. Who wins that one, US or Canada? Well, it's going to be Canada. Canada comes in at 82.5 years life expectancy, which is number 11 in the world. And the US comes in at 79.8. You guys are 36. You're right below Costa Rica. Yay! You can. I think you could beat those Costa Ricans if you try hard enough. I think I didn't even want to look to see if Cuba was higher because it probably could be. So I didn't want to scare Americans because the myth is America is number one. And I will say that there's one thing that the greatest resource of Americans, and it comes tied with Canada. The greatest number one resource of America and Canada is its people. And some of the best darn people in the world I know are Americans and Canadians. So I just want to leave that on a positive note, and in the meantime, stay safe, keep your wheels in the ground, and I will talk to you soon from Arizona.